Well, just think of it as being another person. What would you do? Say, hi, Joey, I'm camera. Tell me your story.
Anybody I would be telling a story to, I'd be like fighting for them to listen to me, and
No, you're not even telling anything about anything yet. You're just telling me a little.
Well, I'm just gonna practice. We're gonna practice this first. Okay. Well, I'm Joey, and this is Tiffany. And is this gonna be practice, or is this gonna be like? Do you think we'll end
It
up
could be
using
practice. It could be anything. And anything that we say, I can cut out.
All right. Well, the whole point of this is to tell my story, and it started out just to like inform people that I know, because it's absolutely impossible to explain what I have to like anybody and have them understand it, because it's intensely complex. So I thought about it and then realized that this would be a really good way to raise awareness among all people of it, and Tiffany thought of that too, and Tiffany likes to make videos, and I have got something to say, so it seems like a pretty good match to me. Anyways, I'm sorry. Speaking of what's wrong with me, I have something called Chiari eye malformation. It's a congenital birth defect that is very rare. 300,000 people in the U.S. have it, most of whom don't even know they have it because it doesn't even affect them, or it affects them very slightly. They only get, like, say, 5 of the symptoms and they're minor. But Chiari can affect people in all different kinds of ways. It especially affects you neurologically. It causes all kinds of problems, which I'll get into, but I'm going to explain what's going on with me. Right now, I'm in the midst of everything. I'm at my absolute worst as for where I'm at with it. Chiari is something that there's really no medication. There is, just for purposes of I want to be correct, there is some sort of medication that they've been testing out that has helped subside symptoms in people, and for some people it helps, but some people there's just no way to help them except for the surgery. What Chiari exactly is well, I'm probably going to explain it a little bit wrong, but it's with your cerebellum and your posterior fossa. It's all in the back of your head and your cerebellar tonsils. I'll explain all that in detail at some point, but right now, basically what happens is your cerebrospinal fluid gets, the amount that's supposed to flow through into your head, it gets cut by, on average, what was it, 60%. Most people with Chiari have it, the flow that it's supposed to be is reduced by 60%. There we go. And, so your cerebrospinal fluid is what bathes your spine and your brain, and like it's like the oil that makes your body work, your brain and stuff. And thank you, train. And yeah, get away from me with that.
You told me to sit with you.
I used to smoke. I can't anymore because I can't even smoke a cigarette without bad stuff happening to me. I'll get into that now. Oh, well, okay, so your cerebellum is also crushed in the back of your head. Part of the, and your cerebellum is what controls your fine motor skills, you know, all stuff like that. You know, speech, even emotions, all kinds of stuff like that. And, so basically it's crushed. And, well, no, that can't be very good. And as you get older, the symptoms come on more and more. And, like, at this point, I it's very hard for me. I'm doing actually very well right now. I'm having what I call a good day. But it's very hard for me to, like, speak a lot of the time. I'm losing my memory completely. Like, I'll put something down, and instantly I don't know where it is anymore. It's hard to get anything across Like, I could, when I explain the most simple thing to someone and just know what it is, I'll have it in my head, but I'll have no way to just get it out of my mouth. On bad days, I have tics, like, where, like, my head will just, like, bug out, and, like, my hands will, and, like, my body will jerk all by itself, and I have seizures. If I do people with Chiari aren't supposed to lift anything more than, like, 15 pounds, because, like, you know how, like, if you bend over or something, you feel pressure in your head, like, from coughing, you know, the way you get a pressure in your head, sneezing, anything like that, anything that puts a pressure like that in your head. For me personally, if I let that happen, it brings a seizure onto me if I'm not on pain medication. And that's actually the only reason I'm, like, able to function right now, is because I found, like, a doctor that actually was willing to prescribe it to me, and because he didn't know about Chiari, but he was somewhat willing to help me. But it's only been a couple weeks, and he's already failing me. But he's the first doctor I've ever had that was actually willing to even listen. I was diagnosed with this when I was 16 years old, and every doctor I ever mentioned it to just didn't know what it was, or brushed it off, or said, oh, there's nothing you can do about it, and said, oh, it's not going to affect you. Until last year, I had, like, a seizure, like, stroke thing, and just my whole body literally seized up, and I started shaking, and I lost control of my head and my eyes and my arms, and I was all cramped up like this, and I went to the hospital, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. They insisted I had hyperventilation disorder, and they're like, you'll be okay in a couple hours. Well, it had been, like, hours I was in the hospital. Oh, and they treated me like I was drug overdose when I first got in there, because I couldn't talk. I couldn't explain how I felt, and the lady was just looking at me like I was a jerk, and it was just really nasty to me, and all of them were, until they did a pee test on me that they didn't even say they were doing. Like, that's, like, completely illegal, but they swore they thought I was a drug overdose until they did that, and that took hours, and then they finally started treating me somewhat decent. They still weren't listening to me, though. So they insisted it was hyperventilation disorder, and I was in there for a few hours, and they're like, you should be feeling better now. You are, right? And, like, I just wasn't, but I was so terrified to even be in there anymore because of the way they were treating me, and just, like, the way I felt, that I was finally just, like, I tried to say, yeah, I'm pretty much almost better. I went home, and for 2 weeks I was partially paralyzed, and, like, I didn't have control of my head. I didn't have full use of my arms and my hands, and that was last April, and actually since then I really have never been the same, and I had started to get sick a few months before that. I've always been really sick, but it started to get really bad last year, and then after that seizure, stroke-like thing happened, I was like, alright, I gotta know what's going on, so I decided to look into the Chiari, and lo and behold, everything that was going on with me were the symptoms of that.